What's going on, guys? We're back at it again with another episode of Convos with Dr. Andy on TruCapacity Talks. This is James. If you're watching this, you already know that. If you're listening to this, maybe you don't because you don't know my voice. But what we're going to be doing today is going over fitness gadgets, okay? Particularly ones that give you a shit ton of data. Your Apple Watch, your Whoop, your Aura Ring, and anything else, maybe even a CGM, that gives you way too much information on a day-to-day basis, and why it's maybe a little bit dangerous in the long run for us to be dependent on these things. And Andy, we'll let you go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about my experience personally, anecdotally, I guess. So I used to own a Whoop band. I think I called it a Whoop band for the longest time. But anyway, so I wore that for years. And as cool as it was to kind of get certain metrics, HRV, right, which is heart rate variability, the changing between parasympathetic and sympathetic. So for those out there, parasympathetic is like you're resting and digesting. Sympathetic being your fight or flight nervous system modes. So when you work out, you primarily go to sympathetic. When you rest, you primarily go to parasympathetic. So sleep was a cool thing to kind of monitor on my Whoop band. And then, my daily strain were kind of the primary ones that I really focused on. I think the Whoop 4 or whatever it is, the 4.0. I think that's the latest one they've had. I've been off it for about a year or so. They started adding in way more technological variables and metrics. But those were primarily the ones that I wanted to track: sleep, strain, and then HRV. I found myself becoming way too dependent on what those numbers look like. So I would alter my training based on how I thought I slept or how I saw that the Whoop calibrated my sleep. I would push harder if my sleep seemed like it was in the green. I would rest a bit more if it was in the red. But what I started to notice, James, was that how I felt and what my readings were saying didn't quite match up. And I started to believe more of the readings than I did my own body. And I started to lose touch with, what I was actually feeling. Because some days I woke up and I felt phenomenal, but my reading would say 11% recovery. Or I would work out a ton, say on the weekends, and my strain would be like at a 7 for a total for a day. And I would go out for like a run, casual run, and my Whoop would be at 18. So, but it didn't match up with how I was internally feeling. So for those of you guys that are listening, I'm not bashing on any of these technological like metrics or pieces of machinery that allow you to kind of get an insight into what's going on into your body. But it's when you become reliant on it so much so that you lose touch with self. I think that's where the problem lies. And that was why I stopped using all those, because I just wanted to kind of go back to my bare bones, like how I'm feeling. Right. I don't need necessarily something to tell me how well I'm sleeping. If I'm waking up in the morning, if I feel refreshed, awesome. I know I got some deep sleep. I don't need, a band to tell me or a strap to tell me how much NREM or REM sleep I got. If there's metrics that we were innately given, right? You wake up refreshed, right? You got really good sleep. If you hardly ever get sick, you're in a better state of health, right? If you wake up, you have bags under your eyes, you wake up not ready for the day, right? Then those are metrics. Those are innate, systems telling you, alarms telling you, hey, something's a little bit off. So don't push it so heavy in the gym, right? If you're feeling super sore, if you're feeling super exhausted, if you feel great rested and you're not having too many cravings, etc., yeah, push it, go for it. So as far as metrics and all that, I think they're great, but when we become dependent on them, in my experience, yeah, I think that's when we need to take a step back and remove ourselves from having that where we're stuck to looking at the phone at all times to reading the metrics. Yeah, and just get more in tune with ourselves. What do you think, James?
I ain't never getting sick. Ever.
You don't have
Never.
an immune system.
Fuck the immune system. No, I think that the things that you're saying about the Whoop are very interesting because there's been some similar complaints from some people in the CrossFit world, kind of along the same path. Like, hey, I did three sessions of Olympic weightlifting and my body is shot, but it says that my recovery is 95.
Right.
I got amazing sleep, but it says in my recovery is 50%. What? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't have anecdotal experience with the Whoop. I have had clients that have used it that have given me kind of mixed reviews there. Something that I do have tons of experience with clients communicating with me on fitness gear, though, is their Apple Watches and the metrics that come from their Apple Watches around heart rate and the recommendations on to slow down in a workout because you're going too fast or your heart rate is too high, on top of the calories burned in a workout, and using that as a metric to control the inflow of food into your damn mouth. Like, there is no reason, period, end of story. I don't give a damn who you are, that you should be using your Apple Watch to tell you how many calories you burned in a workout. And here's why. There's not a single piece of medical equipment or a medical instrument out there that is calibrated for every type of workout and every type of exercise at all times. The only way that you can control outflow clinically is to put someone in a 100% in lab study observationally where you don't move out of a room and they collect everything from in and out. That is the only way to know 100% what is happening. The efficacy of someone using their phone metrics from their health app, from Apple or Fitbit or anybody else to tell you that you did 45 minutes of elliptical and you somehow burned 2,200 calories. Yet if I clean and jerk for the next hour and a half, I'm going to burn 200. Are you out of your mind? I can tell you which one probably burns more calories. And it's not the elliptical. But I think that it's dangerous to get into the habit of taking these as truth, right? Just because they say that it is. Very similar to you not getting a second opinion on anything medical, or you're not getting a second opinion on anything that a trainer says or a coach says or something. Like, you have access to information and other people for a reason, right? And anyone that's worth their weight in salt will tell you that these things are not things you can live and die by. Like, at the end of the day, they should be things that are aiding, right? Not creating dependence. And obviously, let's be completely transparent here. There is a monetary incentive for certain companies, for any company, to push their product as being something that you cannot exist without.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. That's capitalism. It is what it is. But I think as a consumer, you've got to be informed that me wearing my MyZone Polar or my Polar MyZone 2 and it telling me that I'm in my 90 percentile on my heart rate doesn't mean that I need to slow down in a workout. How do I feel? I think that data is better to look retrospectively at than it is to be looking at while it's coming through. Yeah. If you have a coach that wants to pull up your thing and broadcast it to their phone and watch it while you're working out, sick, right? You want to go to the games, you want to compete in the Olympics, you want to do some crazy shit like that, amazing. Let them look at it. You don't need to be watching your numbers and watching your stuff while you're working out. There's almost no reason to do that, I don't think. And I found myself slowing down sometimes or speeding up when I had no business doing either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, outside of any, I would say, abnormal health condition that requires maybe a little bit more monitoring. Now, again, I wouldn't, put a whole lot of stock into these ones that we've mentioned. Keeping track of somebody who's on that place of needing some sort of medical intervention. Right. So I think
you probably need a practitioner and you probably need some other things going on.
Correct.
Not one of these consumer products that's just floating out that you can buy on your own.
Correct. Right. That you don't maybe don't really know how to read too in depth. Right. So, yeah, I mean, for me, James, it just became a matter of like, I was using it prospectively, meaning it was going to dictate how I was going to live my life versus just using that data collectively as like, okay, well, if I had that, sip of alcohol or a couple of drinks, I know that's going to tank all my readings and just screw everything up. Because again, I think with the Whoop band, I think it takes a few days for it to calibrate kind of your normal. So again, if that window of time that it's calibrating is not necessarily normal for you, like let's say you're higher stressed, let's say you're training more, let's say you're not training as much, right? Whatever that window is for that 24, 48, 72 hours is that has to calibrate. That's going to dictate what your normal is going forward, not based on how you feel, but based on that little window. So for you, it telling you to slow down in your workout predominantly, right? It may not know what you're capable of because it's normal. It's calibrated normalcy for you may have not been totally accurate. Because again, we had mentioned this in a previous podcast. You take a glucose test, a fasting glucose test one time, that's going to tell you what that is in the moment, not what you'll be 2 hours from now after you eat. It's looking at a very snapshot, finite amount of time, and then extrapolating a whole bunch of data based on that one little moment. So
yeah,
like critical thought too, right? Like when you were speaking, I was thinking about this, like people just need to have the ability to critically think. And I think that's lacking a lot in today's society because we have so many things that just AI, right? That do things for us that we no longer need to actually apply a whole bunch of thought to tasks and have a whole lot of thought into like what our body necessarily needs or is feeling. So all these tools, all these things are great. You had mentioned it. They're add-ons, they're supplements, they're great, tools to assist, but they should not dictate by any means. And becoming reliable on them can be a detriment to kind of, your health essentially, because if you're not paying attention to what your own body is going on or what's going on in your own body, what happens if this piece of equipment goes away? What if you can't afford it anymore, or it breaks, or these companies go under and you no longer have access to them? Where are you at now?
Yeah. I'm not going to let you give AI give everyone the out with AI, because this bullshit of people not knowing what the hell they're doing came way before last December.
That's fair.
But it is definitely increasing in speed because people have even more access to things. Machine learning has been around. It's just more accessible to the public now. But I also think that something that we become dependent on, and that most people are super hyper dependent on when we do any kind of exercise, are these. How many of you can't work out without music? Probably a lot of people can't work out without music. Why? Because you've become conditioned to be dependent on having your favorite song, so you feel some type of way in the middle of a workout. And that's cool, but understand that the fitness that you're trying to put into play in your life will come at a time, at some point, where your AirPods are dead, or your phone is not working, or you don't have signal, or you don't have a Spotify playlist downloaded. And what are you going to do then? What are you going to do when you sign up for a triathlon and you're not allowed to wear headphones? Okay. So the next time one of you wants to music or bust, I just can't work out unless my favorite song's playing. I want you to practice taking your headphones out and punting your phone across the room.
What about weightlifting belts?
God, gadgets, gear, too much.
No, we won't go into that, man.
I think that we just got to be very careful. And I think that everything can be used as a tool, right? It's similar to having supplements for your nutrition, but are supplements going to do the same thing that your whole foods are going to do for you? No. Are supplements a great thing to use even sometimes in a pinch to help get you over the line? Sure. Are they things that can add on to supplement what you're doing? Yeah. Are they even created to be used as substitutes? No. And I think that we need to view all of this tech as the same way, right? Your heart rate monitor, your Whoop, your CGM, right? Mr. Biohacker. Like, most people don't even know why they would wear one of those. But a lot of people wear them now that are not diabetic.
So, all right. So for those that are wearing bands or any of this technology that kind of gives them feedback, are we telling them to take those off and go back to bare roots?
No. I'm not telling you to go on a raw vegan diet or go hunt your food in the woods. I'm not telling you to do any of that. I think that you should try a workout without those things on and see how you feel. I would encourage you to get into the discomfort and utilize a less technologically advanced workout and see what happens. Right? Mm-hmm. Don't jump on a cardio implement. Use your fucking legs. Right? Don't grab a barbell. Try a dumbbell or a kettlebell, or go pick up a rock. Go a little bit lower tech and see how you do. There's a high probability that if you're dependent on all these things, that you're going to hate working out like that. It's going to tell you something about yourself. And I don't get to tell you what the value of that is for your life, but I can tell you that you're probably going to hate it. And so
Yep.
my desire with this podcast, period, end of story, is that you understand that just as supplements in nutrition, gadgets and technology are supplemental, not substitutes. And if you treat them as such, you won't have a problem. And if you want to go biohacking to the moon and live to your 120 and inject stem cells under your eyes and everything else, sweet, dude. Like, live your life, do your thing. It is what it is. I don't go that crazy, but hey, I'm not going to sit here and shame you. Do what you want to do. It's your life. We're in meat sacks right now, floating in the ether. Who knows what's even going to happen after this?
That's twice now that you've used meat sacks.
It's something that I stole from Aubrey Marcus. He was talking to Rogan probably a few years ago, and I heard him say it once, and I was like, dude, I love that. Meat sacks. That's it. That's it. Any
Awesome,
parting
man.
words? I think we covered a lot there.
No, that was good, man. I want to leave it. I don't want to taint it with anything that I say for you. So that was good, man.
All right. Well, we'll end it there. Thank y'all so much for listening. And if you're watching this, which is where most of y'all are, thank you for subscribing. Even though 98% of you that watch this don't subscribe. So figure that one out. We'll talk to you later. Appreciate you.
Peace.